6 was the last one you played.
So, Your Honor, what I've done now, if Your Honor will allow me to speak, what I've done is I've merged both of them onto a USB file drive instead of having them on individual CDs.
Okay. So essentially B, 26A and B. Okay. It's all on one disc, but it's two different conversations.
Right.
Right. Okay. Go ahead. You gonna play?
This is the second one.
Island Morada. Isla Morada. Isla Morada, the purple island. Carmen, your fetus.
Sorry, Your Honor. We just had it a second ago. Can you cue it up on yours? Yeah, we'll play yours, and then I'll save it on.
I had to buy the car from you. When I was like reapplying, it shows up because obviously I purchased the car from you. You know what's so weird though? Like, well, obviously because I had to buy the car from you since I had no car. When I was like reapplying, it like shows up because obviously I purchased the car from you.
Yeah, for what, $25 bucks?
No, but it's like weird. It's like for security reasons or whatever when I had to
That's a call, Your Honor.
And that's the only portion, Judge, where she just said I had to buy the car.
So you're claiming a prior consistent statement. That means there have been some intervening act that's changed the motivation. So what are you certain is the intervening act?
Your Honor, my position is that once the state cross-examined her and brought her credibility into question, I am now allowed to rehabilitate her with a prior consistent statement.
Prior consistent statement has to be there's been some intervening event. Before that intervening event, the motive did not exist to be untruthful, but now there is some motive to be untruthful according to what the cross-examiner has asserted. That's prior inconsistent statement. So what do you contend the intervening event was where the motive has changed?
Well, Your Honor, her testimony to her arrest, when that was taken, she wasn't under arrest. She didn't know she was being recorded, and she testified she bought it. They're claiming she didn't, and this is evidence that supports her contention back in 2016.
So you'd say the arrest was the intervening event?
Yes, Judge.
All right. I'm going to sustain that. I'm going to reverse my ruling as the first one. I sustain the objection as to both. It's a little bit of a brain teaser, but they gave me a second to think about it. At least the state's theory, and their theory in cross-examination was that all these things were secret payments for murder. That was the motive in April 2016, just as it is now, to hide the fact that these were secret payments for a murder. So there's been no intervening event that shows a change in motivation. So I'm going to sustain the objection.
And Your Honor, just before the jury is brought out, if I could just to the record,
Do what?
Just want to cite one case, Your Honor, just to the record. I'm not going to read the language, but we're relying on a case from the first DCA. That's my position. No, Your Honor, we can proceed.
All right. Any other issues we need to resolve before we bring the jury in?
No, so just so we're okay, and everyone's all right, I think at this point I would just do with the one statement that Your Honor is allowing.
No, I've reversed my ruling on that. I'm not allowing any of the three.
Okay.
Anything else we need to resolve before we bring the jury in?
No, sir.
You make those part of the record. It's Defense Exhibit 26 as a proper. You have that available to make part of the record. So.
We'll be providing a fob, Judge, with
what?
A USB thumb drive device that has just the 2 calls on it that we are relying on, and it won't go back to the jury.
Needed in some way. put it on some document so the clerk can make it part of the record. She can't make a thumb drive part of the record.
Won't be a problem.
Okay, all right?
We'll take care of it, Judge.
All right, let's have a jury, please. All rise for the jury. Try to good seat, please. You may finish up, Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Judge. Now, Ms. Magbanua, the phone calls that were played in this courtroom, those are not all the phone calls, right?
No.
They're only bits and pieces of phone calls, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Ms. Kappelman got up here and was trying to ask you what Charlie meant by flushing the problem, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you gave a guess of what you thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because you are not Charlie Adelson, right?
Yes, ma'am.
The only person who would know what that is...
Charlie.
Have you seen Charlie in this courtroom today?
Nope.
He hasn't been charged, has he?
Nope.
And no one's questioned him to ask him what he meant?
No.
Okay.
When's the last time you spoke to Charlie Adelson?
2016.
Would it be the last recorded phone call that before Sigfredo was arrested?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Ms. Kappelman was saying that you stopped using your phone around May of 2016, but that's not true, right?
No.
The person you stopped calling was who?
Sigfredo.
No, the person you, well, he was in jail, but
Yeah.
the person that you stopped calling Charlie, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And was that because of everything that was leaked in the media?
Yes, ma'am.
Sustained.
Why did you stop talking to Charlie?
Well, that was everything was out in the media. They were looking to arrest him.
But you continued using that phone.
Yes, ma'am.
In fact, you and I even communicated on that phone before you were arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
You also used it to communicate with your mom,
Yes, ma'am.
with your brother.
Yes, ma'am.
You never stopped using that phone.
Never stopped using that phone.
And to this day, the government has it.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the government brought up some statements about you lifting up your shirt if you had ever done anything like that.
No, ma'am.
Okay, I want to actually go into a little background because, you know what we're talking about, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What pod are you in at the Leon County Jail?
Currently now, I'm in Pod Nancy, but before I was in Pod Mary, which is a confinement pod.
And what does that mean?
We are confined almost 18 to 20 hours a day
Why were you placed in that pod?
because of my charge.
I'm sorry, she already answered.
Now, this statement is that this incident that she's referring to about you lifting up your shirt in front of all these other inmates.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
know where that is coming from, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is that coming from?
From Brenda Ward.
Who is Brenda Ward?
Brenda Ward's an inmate in Leon County.
And she at some point was in jail at the same time that you were, right?
Well, she's been in and out of jail a couple times since I've been there
Do you know why she was in and out of jail?
because she keeps getting new charges.
What kind of charges?
Methamphetamine, I believe.
Okay. And to your knowledge, is the government cut a deal with her to testify against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there also another inmate that they've done the same thing to?
Yes, ma'am.
What's her name?
Amy Manka.
Okay. Describe what Amy Mankel looks like.
She's very skinny. Half her hair is shaved off.
And everyone in the pod is aware of who you are, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because you're on the news all the time.
All the time.
And Miss Manka at some point was what we call a bunkie of yours.
Yes, ma'am.
What does that mean?
She was in the same room as me in Pod Mary, but this was in 2016.
Okay. Very recently this year, did you come into any information that Ms. Markel was trying to get information from you about her case?
Yes, ma'am.
Before she was even listed as a witness, who did you tell about her?
I told you.
Okay. And so you knew what was coming?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever admitted anything to Amy Markel before?
No.
Okay. That's because you have nothing to admit, right?
Exactly.
Have you ever lifted up your shirt and exposed your breasts to everybody in the pod?
No.
Okay. And had you done so, she would have been able to accurately describe your breasts?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Jason Newland came to her.
Yes, ma'am.
And then after they spoke with her, wasn't she released from jail?
Yes.
The next time you saw her was when?
2 weeks later, she got rearrested because she cut off her ankle monitor and was high.
And when she was brought into the unit again, did you observe her?
Yes, ma'am.
And was she strung out on meth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I actually advised you right away, which is the reason I think she got moved to another pod.
You were actually on the phone with me when they brought her
Yes,
in?
ma'am.
Okay.
I called you right away.
Now, the state asked you about whether or not the Adelsons have put money aside for you in payment for your silence. I guess that's what they were implying.
Put money aside for me?
Are you aware of the Adelsons putting aside any money for you?
No, I've been incarcerated for 3 years.
How much debt has your family gone into because you have been incarcerated?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled.
Severely. It's damaged my whole family.
For example, how much is a phone call in jail?
A phone call, since my phone calls are long distance, since I live in Miami, it's a 15-minute phone call can be like around almost $4.
Okay. And talk to the jury and explain to them what commissary is.
I sustain the objection at this point.
Okay. There has been no promises made to you of money in order for your testimony today, right?
No, ma'am.
In fact, you also just testified that you think Charlie Adelson is behind this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Could they pay you any amount of money to keep you away from your children?
Never.
And you have been aware from the beginning who they want.
Yes, ma'am.
Why won't you just lie and tell them that Charlie was a part of this?
I wish I could, because I wouldn't be incarcerated, and I'd be free, and I'd be with my children.
And why haven't you done that?
Because I'm telling the truth.
And I want you to look at this jury and explain to them, is your testimony today truthful?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection.
Sustain.
Okay.
Move to strike.
Jury disregard.
Have you ever told me anything inconsistent to what you testified to today?
Objection.
Sustain.
Oh, actually, a few more things. Now, Miss Magbanua, did something happen while you were incarcerated to your family?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you miss?
My mom.
Objection, relevance.
Sustain.
Will you ever be able to see your mother again?
Objection.
Quash.
Yes, Your
Move
Honor.
on.
Pardon me?
You done?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, have a seat, please. There was a question and comment about not all calls being in evidence. I want to make sure a jury doesn't misconstrue that. There are various legal reasons that many of the, I'm sorry, you can go ahead and sit down, Ms. Magbanua. There are various legal reasons why a lot of the calls are not in evidence. You should not assume there's anything sinister or anybody's done anything wrong of why all calls are not in evidence. They're not all legally admissible. And if they're not legally admissible, they don't go into evidence. So don't want you to misconstrue that statement. Your next witness.
If we can have a brief moment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot again. Raise your hand. Are there questions from the jury? All right, but just one. All right. Resume the stand, Ms. Magbanua. Because I'm getting old, I forget things. Couple of follow-up questions from the jury, Ms. Magbanua.
Yes, sir.
Can you give us any more specific information on the promotions you were talking about, like dates and locations and companies? Anything more specific you can tell us about those promotions?
When I was working for promotions, as far as for the liquor promotions, I would travel all around Miami up to Broward and then different liquor stores and then give them samples of the liquor that we're promoting. And different, we also did like different events and parties for certain liquor companies as well.
Can you name any of the liquor stores or companies?
Well, we did one for Chivas, there's one for Jameson, there's one for Absolute. And then I was managing the picture that you guys saw, Stout. We had them in different convenience stores. And then we also did events for that company. And I had like about 13 to 14 girls under me, like managing them. And I would send them out to different locations as well.
And were products sold to customers at these events?
Yes, sir. Since we're promoting these different types of liquor, usually we'd have like some deal, like a 2-for-1 or like a gift set that goes with the promotion.
Did you report to the different companies at the promotions or the nightclubs you were working for? How much you received in tips each day? Did you report to the businesses?
For the promotions, that was back at 2013, I think 2013 to 2014. It's different companies, so it was such, like none of the girls really did it, honestly. Like anything for promotions, we didn't really report.
You did? So
and the clubs especially, because a lot of the girls, we go from different clubs.
We're not worried about what other girls do. We're talking about you.
No,
did you report to
I did not.
Businesses doing the promotions or the nightclubs the amount of tips you received?
No, we didn't report it.
Why did you not include the tips on your 1040s, your tax returns?
I didn't include the tips on because they would have taken I would have to pay back a lot of money for it, and it would show that my income would be different, and then I couldn't get the insurance for my kids.
And did you ever receive food stamps?
I believe when I was pregnant with my daughter, I did.
When was that?
That was in 2012 to 2013.
Okay. Follow up, Ms. Kawak? Can you follow up? I'm sorry, Garcia. Can you follow up? No, Ms. Kaplan?
No, sir.
All right, you can step down now.
Thank you.
Call your next witness. Do you have another witness?
Oh, the defense first.
Okay. All right. We have rebuttal.
Yes, Your Honor, but we would request a short recess prior to rebuttal.
Okay. We'll take. How long do you need?
May I have 15 minutes?
What's that?
May I have 15 minutes?
Should we give 15 minutes? All right. All right. We'll give 15 minutes. All right.
60.